Hello, welcome to Courage to be Visible, the podcast for heart centered entrepreneurs who are done hiding in the shadows and ready to step into the spotlight. I'm Andrea Stenberg, a video marketing strategist and a big believer that showing up as your true, authentic self is your biggest superpower. Each week, I'm sitting down with some brave, brilliant entrepreneurs who are showing up authentically, using their voices, and building businesses that serve, inspire, and change lives. So, if you're ready to grow your business, attract more of your perfect fit clients, and make a bigger impact in the world without burning out or pretending to be someone you're not, you're in the right place. This is your permission slip to be bold and be unapologetically you. So, before I dive in and introduce today's guest, I just have a quick question. What if one video could turn into 17 or more pieces of content without adding more to your plate? If you're here, I know you're already working on showing up and being visible and creating content that connects. But the truth is, you don't need more brand new content to stay connected with your audience. That's why I created my ultimate visibility system. It's a free training that allows you to take one video and repurpose it into 17 other pieces of strategic client attracting content. So, no headaches, no burnout, just a repeatable system that works with your busy life and busy business. And you can download it for free at giftfromandrea.ca. So let's dive in. Today I'm speaking with Valeria Basso, who's a perfect purpose alignment facilitator. And she helps women find their purpose, own their value in the world, and build their soul brand so they can make their way back to the joyful, impactful life they were designed for. Valeria, sorry. Thank you for joining us today.
Oh, thank you for having me.
So, I've got a lot of things I want to talk to you about. But first thing I just wanted to start off with, which I kind of ask everybody, is why do you think being visible is such a challenge for so many entrepreneurs, particularly women entrepreneurs?
Well, what I find is that a lot of women entrepreneurs that are heart-centered, they come with a very deep wound around their value and their self-worth. It's something that they carry from their past, even from their lineage. Very deep, and it's here because we have to heal it, right? Once and for all. That's its purpose. And also, think about it. My opinion is that female entrepreneurs that are heart-centered, they're here to usher in a new way of doing business that comes from serving from the heart, from a place of purpose, that is about creating equal resources, opportunities, and well-being for everyone, that is about collaboration that appreciates everyone in the sense of attributing equal value to everyone, as opposed to trying to beat the competition, trying to own the biggest share of the market, trying to make more money than everybody else, right? But we're still having to operate and break through those old ways of doing business, and that can bring up a lot of insecurities, discomfort, self-doubt in women who are not wired that way.
That makes a lot of sense, and it does sort of resonate with the kind of things I've been hearing when I talk to women entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
One of the things I want to dive into, because I think it relates to this. So in your bio, you talk about the soul brand. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, creating a soul brand is, so I've been in marketing, that was my previous life for a long time. And I kept bumping into these tremendously gifted women who were not presenting themselves in the way that they were with their full gifts. They were hiding their gifts behind a facade. And usually it was because they weren't even aware of the gold that was in them, their value, or they were aware of it, but they were afraid that if they were using it to brand themselves, they wouldn't find a market. And so I started kind of organically working with entrepreneurs to help them really pull out their essence, infuse it into their brand. And then what happens is that as we were doing this, I realized that people were starting to call me a brand therapist. Even before I was a therapist. Now I'm actually a hypnotherapist. But because the process that I was taking them through was also helping them heal their sense of value, which to me, that's why I call the branding process a healing process, because you really have to first come to a place where you can own your value, and then you're able to put yourself out there and be visible.
So kind of what you're saying is like building your brand is also about personal development as well as business growth.
Yeah, it's about healing. I find it to be a healing process when it comes to really the entrepreneurs who want to create a brand that feels close to their art, that represents who they really are.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, because I think a lot of women start businesses because they have something that they're passionate about, something that they want to bring to the world. So it makes sense if you're going to, have this business that's in your heart, you need to be healed. Like you said, you need to have that strength of knowing who you are.
Because otherwise that shows through. So what I was finding also, and it happens to me too, is that when we don't own who we are, when we are not fully confident in our value, then it's so easy to start being someone we're not, like you said in your introduction, right? And it's easier than ever today because we can look around at our space, what other people are doing and saying. And if we're not firm in our value, then whether we're conscious of it or not, we start imitating what other people are doing, what other people are saying. We start all using the same language. And that's how we become invisible. And then we start feeling like we're an imposter, which makes us doubt our value even more, when all along the issue is that we're not in sync with our value and ourselves.
That makes a lot of sense. And then also, if you're not presenting your public image as who you are, I think your audience also on a subconscious level recognizes, oh, this person is not being fully authentic, and that it kind of decreases trust, which is kind of the whole point of marketing, is you're trying to increase trust so people feel confident in working with you.
Well, and you bring up a great point, the subconscious part, which is not talked about enough. So, well, let me ask you, what do you think are the two things that no one can replicate about ourselves?
Well, I often say, like, just how you look. Unless you've got an evil twin, nobody looks and sounds just like you. And also, I think, like your core personality, like who you are inside, like that doesn't, that's, nobody else can be that or do that. Like I think about, like, I've known a lot of coaches, and they may even have all the same training, but everybody brings a different flair, a different style, a different perspective to how they help people. And, not everybody's for everyone, but that's okay, because there's so many clients out there. You need to find your best fit.
Yeah, and I'll take it even one step farther, which is very close to what you just said, is so our energy, I work a lot with energy, and our energy to me is the most underrated ingredient in marketing. So one of the tools I use is called quantum human design, and it shows us that we're all born with a one-of-a-kind energetic blueprint that is as unique as our fingerprints. And it's there by design. It's our greatest source of power. It's how we're meant to influence the world, to attract the people we're meant to serve, to attract the opportunities that allow us to make the impact we want to make. So I always say that our energy attracts our audience just as much as any algorithm. The difference is that unlike any algorithm, our energy is something we can control, that we have ownership over. But we need to be aligned with this energetic blueprint, because what happens is oftentimes we disconnect from it. Can you guess what makes us disconnect from our true energetic blueprint?
I'm guessing it's trying to mimic somebody or follow somebody else's advice about how we should be rather than kind of trusting our heart.
Yes, and even deeper down, we do that when we buy into beliefs and stories about who we are and our value that are not true. And how do we know when they're not true?
How?
When they cause us pain and doubt. So we have a beautiful built-in feedback mechanism that through the pain and the doubt that allows us to recognize when we're not energetically in sync with ourselves and to nudge us back into alignment with it. Isn't that wonderful?
Yeah, it is wonderful. And, you know, it's interesting because I know just looking over the decades that I've been alive, any of the times that I've gotten into trouble, whatever it is, it's when I didn't trust like what was inside. Like if there was that little voice inside saying, don't do this or don't do that. And when I ignored it and said, no, this is what I'm supposed to do, or this is what somebody said to do, those are the times that I've gotten into trouble. And I think that that is like if you don't trust yourself, you don't
Yeah.
you don't follow your proper guidance.
And it's such a simple mechanism that we don't trust it because it's so simple, right? But also, if you think about it, again, in these days, there are so many voices, which in one way is wonderful because everybody can have a platform, everybody can have a voice, right? It didn't used to be like that. The drawback of this is that now we have so many voices to draw on. And what I'm realizing that a lot of people are more confused than ever sometimes because we start feeding into these voices and we forget to stay connected to our energy and to this feedback mechanism that tells us what's right for us or not.
Okay, so and this totally makes sense to me and it kind of relates to how I've experienced things in my life. But for somebody who's listening to this podcast right now and saying, "You know what? I think I'm I've lost my compass. I'm not listening to
Mm-hmm.
myself." Where should somebody start to try to get back to their true self, that listening to who they are and following that inner guidance?
Right. So, number one, I would say tune the noise out. Spend some time, like, stop listening to consuming other people's content, looking at what other people in your space are doing. Detox yourself from the external voices. Spend some time with your energy, getting to know how it speaks to you, and listen to your voice. What does it want you to say? How does it want you to say it? And then do that. Try it out for a month. Maybe a month is even too much, but do a little bit of detox. And when you're in doubt, look back at your story because your story is another thing that no one can replicate. And sometimes if our sense of value is low, we don't see the value in our story. But our story is we should build our entire business, everything we do in our business around our story. And so I would say try with those two steps. And if you see all these resistance coming up, then it's time to work on your self-worth wound.
So I liked what you said about, sort of building the business around your story. And it's sort of a lot of times I think like the thing that we are the best at, like our true genius, comes so easily to us that it feels like it's not really valuable. And I think that's one of the reasons that people kind of shy away because they think, well, it's so easy. Of course, everybody can do it. When really, it's just the thing that you're genius at.
Absolutely. And that's what I find when I have clients build their brand. Usually that's where they have their blind spot because they don't feel that is a value, or again, they think everybody can do this when it's not. So sometimes having that sort of sounding board that can reflect things back to you is helpful.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because when you have a blind spot, you don't even know that you have a blind spot, and having somebody else come in and go, "Wait a sec, this is amazing," and you're like, "But it's easy."
Or sometimes we recognize that same gift in others and we say, oh my God, look at them. It's like, well, we have them too. but when it's somebody else, it's amazing. When it's about us, it's easy, it's not valuable.
So talk to me a little bit about if once somebody figures out what their genius is and what their story is and starts building their business around that, what can change for them?
I think, first of all, when you really affirm in your value, decisions become easier. Because even when you have all the options in front of you, you're much more clear about which one is right for you. And frankly, that is already a big relief, right? Because we can spend so much energy just trying to figure out which way to go. And then again, our energy,
doubting which way to go.
Yeah, when we own our energy, it can be very attractive because our unique energy blueprint is the way we're meant to attract and influence. And it's, like I said, it's our greatest source of power that sometimes functions at a subliminal level. So it doesn't even sometimes matter what we say. Energetically, people are attracted to our energy.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and you know that just in itself is so powerful because oftentimes and you probably see this too, I'll see people who are just paralyzed with indecision because they don't know which way to go. And so just having that, being able to look and say, "Oh, you know what? This is not right for me. I'm not going to do that. Oh, this feels good. I'm going to do this one." I mean, that alone is going to absolutely change your business when you feel confident in making a decision that's right for you.
Yeah, and that's another thing that I love about quantum human design. It shows because we all have a unique energetic blueprint. It also means that there is no single way to success. There is your way and your way only. But you see where the problem is, where we are on one end, we have all these options, this buffet of options that confuses us. And on the other hand, we're learning to trust in our value, and those things sometimes can create a lot of friction and confusion. And I find that that's one of the biggest things that these heart-centered entrepreneurs, and I'm including myself in the bunch, bump into over and over and over and over.
Yeah. Well, I think I feel like I could talk to you for hours about this because this is absolutely fascinating, and I think it is something that so many of us struggle with. If somebody's listening to here today and thinking, "Oh, maybe this is the missing piece for me," how can they find out more about you?
So they can go to my website, which is symphonic, like symphony, right? Symphonicval.com. And there they can see the breadth of services that I offer. I have some healing packages that are specific to working on your self-worth wound, working on your power wound, or healing sticky blocks that are keeping you from getting after what you want. And I can also see what is my branding process like.
All right. Well, that sounds great. So I will put the link to the website in the show notes so that anybody who's interested, go check her out. I spent some time on your website today, and there's a wealth of information for people. It is absolutely lovely. Thank you so much for talking with us today about this. This was a really fascinating approach to how to have the courage to be visible. So thank you for joining us.
Oh, thank you for inviting me.
Thanks for listening to Courage to be Visible. I hope today's conversation sparked ideas for your own visibility. If it helped, please share this episode with a friend. Follow the show and leave a quick rating or review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. It really helps. For links, show notes, and free resources to grow your visibility, head over to the show notes or visit my website. See you next time.